We continue with our class Shabbat Kitchen. Today's class number 817. And we start with Sefer Shmiras HaLashon and the topic, the king and his bird. Trust in HaShem forever, for in God HaShem is the strength of the world. It says in Yeshayahu 26:4. Okay. The term Adei Ad, forever, alludes to the current situation, when the happenings of the world are guided from above with the degree of Hester Panim, divine concealment, as opposed to the early generations such as the temple era, when God's involvement in the world affairs was plainly apparent. Even nowadays, Hashem seems hidden from us, and many have strayed from the ways of their ancestors. Nevertheless, one should trust in Hashem. So what it says here, it's very interesting. So it says, trust in Hashem, especially nowadays. Nowadays, what does it mean? And in Chaim days, nowadays, it does not make any difference, right? So meaning when Hashem's presence is hidden. Looks like all the politicians running the world, leftists and liberal and all of the other garbage in the world is in charge, right? So people think, where is Hashem? Where is the justice, right? So in those specific times, we have to trust Hashem. When it was temple era, it was easy. You go to the temple, you see all of the miracles, you know that Hashem is above the nation. But today, and after the temple was destroyed, so it's not such an easy thing. All right, so as Hashem said, that's why he was explanation why some people strayed from their ways of their ancestors. Continue. We can compare this to the situation of a king who possessed a great wealth and power and rule of the kingdom in a grand style. Okay. One day's news reached the royal palace that a small, insignificant village had rebelled against the king's rule. While the king's advisors were debating what sorts of punishment should be dealt with rebels, right, the king went for a stroll in a garden. He came upon the beautiful bird, chirping in a sweet way. The servant obeyed the king's order that the bird would be brought to the royal palace so that the king and his family should enjoy the chirping. Okay. As the bird was being carried to its new home, it began to chirp a little song. Someone said aloud, how lovely you are, and how lovely are the songs they sing. How I worry that you may go hungry, and now that some of the king's subjects have rebelled and refused to give their prize for the royal family and its pets. The servant of the king replied, you foolish, ignorant man, need a king who rules over the scores of the provinces and whose storehouses overflow with abundance. What about few grains that the bird needs for sustenance? How foolish can one be? The message of the parable is clear, as we shall see. So, I mean, it is clear, meaning what Hashem hands is short. Is not just because there is no food somewhere or there is no parnasah that coming from one way. Hashem is not going to feed you. That's it. Okay, so very beautiful parable. Continue here. Shabbat Kitchen. So we start a new chapter. So we finish chapter of sorting. Right, and start chapter 9, page 174, and the topic is schita, extracting liquids. Okay, extracting liquids from food, right? Extracting liquids from other things we learn in a different class, right? So introduction. One of the 39 hours melachas is dash, threshing, a process by which the wheat kernel are extracted from their surrounding chaff. Okay. So basically, what do we do? Of course, we're not farmers, but learning halachas, you become farmer, a little farmer also, right? So when you get the wheat kernel, any kernel, it comes with a chaff, so you heat it, right? And by heating, you extract the kernel. That's what you want. The chaff you throw out. Okay. So let's see. So talada, right? Coloring of the melacha is schita. So talada, we said it's like a branch out, like it's also biblical, but it's the branch out from if you imagine like a tree, right? The big branch, and from this branch comes coming out smaller branches. That's what talada means. So you have main melacha, one of the 29, and there are some branch outs, right? So talada of the melacha is schita, extracting liquids. Meaning as you see, the logic is the same, right? You extract something from something. So in the wheat, you extract the kernel from the chaff. Here you extract liquid from the fruit. Okay. Extract liquid from the item in which it is absorbed, right? Absorbed. Okay, so we'll see. Schita applies to the ringing liquid from fabric, as well extracted liquid from foods. However, this chapter deals specifically with extracting liquids from foods. Topic of wringing out fabrics and squeezing sponges is discussed in chapter 22 and 24. Okay, so it's actually in this book. Very interesting. So basically, just so you know, we cannot use sponge on Shabbos, right? And why? Because it's muktzah, because you're not allowed to squeeze. That's the issue, and it's impossible to use sponge without squeezing. And same with other things. So, for example, if you have a spill of something, like I don't know, you spill the wine, water, whatever, apple juice. So I have to be very careful, even though you're using napkins, right? So and you throw this napkin into the garbage, you gotta be careful not to squeeze them, right, while you're carrying them to the garbage. Okay. So it's introduction. So part number 2, the prohibition of schita. Okay. Under the melacha of schita, so schita is extracting liquids. Right? Schita, it is forbidden to press the fruit or vegetable in order to extract their juices. It is also prohibited to squeeze out liquid that has been absorbed into the food item. For example, wine absorbed in a challah. So some people, they like, don't ask me why, they like to put the challah into their wine and then eat this challah. I don't know why, but I saw people doing this. Okay, so maybe, like, even though you're allowed to do that, right? You're allowed to do that, but you cannot squeeze the wine out of the challah. Okay. Squeezing fruits and vegetables. There are 3 categories of fruits and vegetables with regard to schita. Okay, so category 1, olives and grapes. So as we can see, olives and grapes, that would be biblical, right? Because olives, they mostly produce from their oil, not for the fruits. And grapes also, grapes are produced for the wine. Right? Wine costs much more than grapes, I think. Right, and second category, other foods commonly juiced. So I would say like maybe oranges, apples, some other whatever the other fruits juice. Number 3, foods that are not usually juiced. Fruit are not usually juiced. Okay. So now we're going to go into category by category. Number 1, olives and grapes. The Torah prohibition of schita with regard to foods applies only to olives and grapes. Okay. These 2 fruits are distinguished by the fact that their ultimate use is in their liquid form. The prime use of the olives and grapes and the production of olive oil and wine. So that's the primary the primary purpose for these fruits is actually the liquids, right? So to squeeze juice from the grape would be biblical prohibition. Okay, number 2, other fruits commonly juiced. There are other fruits fruits and vegetables whose juice are not their ultimate form, yet they're nevertheless commonly squeezed to produce juice. Examples such as foods are oranges, apples, grapefruits, okay, pineapples, okay, yeah, I forgot pineapples, yeah, and tomatoes. So tomato juice is very delicious. These foods are subject to the prohibition of shchita by rabbinic decree. So just to summarize what we said, olives and grapes, biblical, and all other that are commonly juiced, rabbinic. Okay, continue. Or continue with number 2. Since the foods are subject to the shchita only midrabanan, the sages allowed for the certain exceptions to their decree. The conditions under which these foods may be squeezed will be presented below. Later, below. Okay, we'll see. All right. So number 3, foods that are not usually juiced. Foods and vegetables that are not normally used to produce juice are exempt from prohibition of shchita. This may be pressed on Shabbos, even with a specific intent to extract their juices. This category includes melons, okay, and similar foods whose juice are not commonly used. Okay. Melons. Okay, melons is a good example. Okay. It should be noted that whether or not a particular fruit or vegetables is commonly juiced depends on contemporary or local practice. If it is become vogue to juice a certain fruit or vegetable, it will then fall under the restriction of shchita. So if it becomes fancy schmancy to go like this, what do they call, like fruit, the juice bars, right? They make the whole cafe of the juice, right? I mean, to squeeze a fresh juice like for you, right? So if they decided to squeeze the juice from the beets, I think they can squeeze. I think so. If it became common and people say it's healthy and this and that, so it would be under that category also. But I mean under the second category. So now we're discussing third category. Similarly, if one lives in a country where certain fruits or vegetables are commonly juiced, those fruits and vegetables would also fall under the restriction of shchita in that area, meaning under the second type. So first type never changes, olives and grapes, but second type depends on the contemporary practices or place where you live, right? Okay. Maybe in some places there is like some local fruits that does not exist in other places. Okay. Okay. So B, extracting liquids absorbed in foods. Foods that have absorbed foreign liquids, for example, challah dipped in a wine, cake dipped in milk, are also subject to shchita by rabbinic decree. Although these liquids, once absorbed, become an integral part of the food and lose their status as a drink, the sages nevertheless forbade squeezing these items, as it may lead to squeezing actual grapes and olives, which is the Torah prohibition. So it's very interesting example. So let's discuss this. So I'm going to read it again and explain because it's a very interesting explanation. So one more time, foods that have absorbed foreign liquids, challah, dipped in wine. So once so you have a piece of challah, you dip in wine. All of the wine absorbed in the challah become it's like it's no longer independent. It's a part of the challah. Or a second case, they say example, cake dipped in the milk. Okay, so okay, are also subject of Sita by rabbinic decree. So even if it's not like an orange that it was created like that, right? With juice inside, it was made by men, right? The dipping the challah into the wine. Still, they say it's exactly the same prohibition, right? And it's exactly the same prohibition. And very interesting that they say, so let me read. Although these liquids, once absorbed, become integral part of the food and lose their status as a drink. So basically, even if we take this orange, right? So the juice in orange, and until you squeeze it, is a part of the food. It's not like two separate things mixed. No, it's actually part of the food. So when you squeeze it, I hope not on Shabbos. So then it separates, one separates from another. Okay, and it becomes liquid. So it's not like liquid trapped into the fruit. No, it's a part of the fruit. The sages nevertheless forbade to squeeze these items. It may lead to the squeezing actual grapes and olives, which is a Torah prohibition. So as we said before, all of these things that one might lead to another, and this another being Torah prohibition. So our sages were required by Torah to put the fences around it, so we would not come and transgress Torah prohibitions. Okay. Summary. Olives and grapes are subject to the schita by the Torah prohibition. There are no exceptions to this prohibition. Okay, meaning olives and grapes. Other foods commonly juice, for example, oranges, are subject to schita by rabbinic decree. In some instances, to be detailed later, squeezing this item is permitted. The same rule applies to foods that have absorbed liquids. For example, challah dipped in wine. Foods that are not usually juiced, right? For example, melons are exempt from this scheme, from the scheme. So, okay, 3 categories. Continue. Part number 3: conditions under which schita is permitted. We have seen that the 2 groups of food are subject to schita by rabbinic decree. Are fruits and vegetables that are commonly juiced, other than olives and grapes, and foods that have absorbed liquids. Okay, so ones that are naturally absorb have liquids inside of them, which is part of the fruit, or second type that we did something artificial, like challah dipped in wine. The sages did not prohibit squeezing these foods in all cases. Did not. Okay, there are several conditions under which one is permitted to extract their liquids. A, to improve the food. Okay, we're going to see improve the food. B, to squeeze liquid into the solid foods, meaning you extract from the solid into the solid, so the second solid absorbed the liquid. So basically, you don't have liquid any longer, right? That's the thing. And C is sucking, right? So even though sucking, when you suck something like a wedge of what is it, orange, right? There is it is squeezing, but it's inside of your mouth, so it's absolutely permitted. Okay, so let's see. A, squeezing foods for its improvement. The rabbinic prohibition against squeezing liquids from a food applies only when one's intention is to procure the liquid. Okay, so only if you care about the liquid, right? That's very interesting. That's not interesting, but it's very important. That's exactly the case with olive oil, right? So you squeezing for the purpose to procure the liquid. It is therefore permissible to squeeze the food in order to enhance it. For example, if one squeezes a excess juice from a fruit. No, this is different from the fruit. Except grapes and olives, in order to improve the fruit. Okay, we'll need to see example when in some cases there is too much juice, too much liquid, and you want to squeeze a little. So okay, to improve the fruit. So okay, I would say that the question once was asked about tuna, opening the tuna can. The tuna that in olive oil or in oil, vegetable oil, whatever oil is, right? So, so to improve the tuna, you need to squeeze a little oil out because that's too much oil. So it would fall under this category. Likewise, one may squeeze. Okay, a different example. The excess oil from the kugel. A piece of kugel or herring. That's when it's too much oil, that's not good. It's not healthy. Okay, so you want to squeeze. So it's not like you squeeze because you want to eat this oil. Opposite is true. You don't want to eat this oil. Regarding squeezing excess water or oil from the can of tuna, see chapter 8. Okay, or on sorting. Okay, it should not be. I'm sorry. It should be noted that since one's intention is not to procure the liquid with its extract that is extracted, he may benefit from or consume the liquid. One more time, the last sentence, and we're going to explain. It should be noted that since one's intention is not to procure the liquid that is extracted, he may benefit from or consume the liquid. Okay, so so we said here to improve the food, there is no problem. And the example they give, if you have oily thing like kugel, so you wanna squeeze a little oil, that's good, that's perfect, no problem, right? And they said so. Why you allowed to do that? Because you care about the food, not about the liquid. And now, but they say okay. Even though you did it to improve the food, not because you want to eat the liquid, but still you can eat the liquid. There is no contradiction. Or drink the liquid. Well, I mean, usually nobody drinks the olive oil or other things. Okay, continue. B, squeezing liquids onto the solid foods. Okay, so that's the second case. There are circumstances in which one is permitted to squeeze out liquid from a food, even if one's intention to procure the liquid. It's very interesting. So say we say a little sounds like contradiction. Right now we care about the liquid, so you squeeze the food, right? The fruit, I guess, in order to get the liquid. This would apply when the liquid is squeezed directly onto the solid food to improve it. That either, number one, most of the liquid is being used to flavor the food, right? So meaning to improve the food, the flavor of the food, and two, most of the liquid is absorbed by the food. Okay. So the famous example when people squeeze lemon on fish, right? It is forbidden, however, to squeeze a liquid into another liquid, even for flavoring. So liquid into liquid, no, but liquid onto the solids, yes. For one, for flavoring, and second, if it's going to get absorbed. So let's see, to illustrate, number one may squeeze juice directly from a lemon into the piece of fish as flavoring. Okay. Okay, that's the people usually do with salmon. Okay, so there is no problem. So why? Because you want to improve the taste of the salmon. Number two, though one may not squeeze juice directly from the lemon into tea, one may squeeze the juice into the spoonful of sugar, provided that the most of the juice is absorbed by the sugar. Okay, so it's the classic example. So you want to eat, you want to drink tea with lemon juice. there is no problem. So you can squeeze the lemon, but onto the sugar before you put sugar into your tea. Or for example, you put 2 spoons or whatever, how many spoons of tea into your cup, and then you squeeze the lemon juice into it. Okay, that's another way. Since it's going to get absorbed mostly. Okay, so that's no problem. Continue. It is praiseworthy not to squeeze olives or grapes onto food items. Okay, I'm not sure anybody would squeeze grapes. Okay, but we have to remember. Continue. Sucking. See, sucking. Sucking juice from fruit is not considered form of schita, but for one may hold the wedge over orange or lemon and suck it out, suck out its juice. Okay. It is also permissible to dip challah into wine and suck it. Okay. However, when doing so, one should be careful to avoid squeezing out any liquid with one's hands. So in one's mouth, there is no problem. With hands, an issue. Next one. Okay, continue. Sucking olives and grapes. One should refrain from sucking olives and grapes while holding them. Nevertheless, it is permissible to insert an olive or a grape completely into one's mouth and suck out the juice in that manner. I'm not sure if people do that, but okay. Maybe if they don't suck on olives or grapes, that's what we do. Okay. Summary. Summary. There are 3 exceptions to the prohibition with food subject of schita midarabanan. A food may be squeezed onto squeezed out to enhance its flavor. Okay, so no problem. As we said, you have a piece of fish, you can squeeze out lemon on top. No problem. B, a liquid may be squeezed onto the solid food. Number 1, to flavor that food, right? Or number 2, if the liquid is mostly absorbed in the food, as with last example was with sugar, right? And C, one is permitted to suck a juice from a food, but should avoid squeezing out the juice with one's hands. As we said, the wedge of the orange, no problem. Preferably, one should not invoke this leniency regarding olives and grapes. So even though I guess some poskim say there is no problem because it's not usual way of extracting liquids by one's mouth, right? But they say, okay, since probably some say be stringent, so we're trying to be stringent. Nevertheless, one may suck the juices while fruit is inside of one's mouth. So meaning he has no intention to pull it out and like refuse, right? Okay, part number 4, juices that ooze out. Very interesting. There is another, so meaning because of the weight, because one is on top of the other, or it's been laying around for a long time, that's the thing, right? There is another prohibition related to the principle of schita. To safeguard the prohibition of schita, the sages forbade the consumption of juices that seeped out foods on Shabbos. So sages say, so even if it's was seeped out on its own, you did not do anything, so they say don't eat it. Okay, so what is the problem? We're going to explain. However, not all the fruits and vegetables are included in the prohibition. As with the schita, they are divided into 3 categories. A, olives and grapes. Oil that seeped out from olives, and juice that oozes from grapes, on Shabbos may not be consumed until after Shabbos. So until after Shabbos, so there is no problem. So I mean, after Shabbos you can drink this juice if you want, or oil. B. So it's, as we said, it's biblical. It's the most stricter category. B. Other foods commonly juiced. When it is common to other foods that are commonly juiced, when it comes to other foods that are commonly juiced, the prohibition of consuming juices that ooze out applies only to those fruits and vegetables originally intended for juicing. So it's very interesting. Originally intended for juicing. So if you bought oranges specifically for juicing, that would be under this category. A fruit that was purchased for eating is not subject for this prohibition. Very interesting, right? And the juice that seeps from it on Shabbos may be consumed. Okay. So as I say, it depends why you bought this food. So it's your intention. Please note that this stands in a contrast to the prohibition of schita, which applies to all fruits in all groups, regardless why they purchase, right? So they said it's very interesting note, right? So the oozing on its own in one thing, right? And squeezing them, it's a different thing. So it doesn't matter why you bought them in the first place, but if you start squeezing them, that's a problem, basically. Okay, to illustrate, an orange purchased for juicing is a subject to this prohibition, even if one ended up eating it on Shabbos. Thus, one is not allowed to drink any juice that trickles from into his plate as he eats it. So she bought these oranges, 10 pounds of oranges specifically to make juice, and decided to eat one on Shabbos. So whatever drips into the one's plate cannot eat this juice. On the other hand, if orange was purchased for eating, juice that trickles into the plate may be consumed. That's the major difference. Okay, next one is C. Foods that are not usually juiced. So that's the most, I mean, we said there is no problem with several, but let's see. Foods that are not usually juiced, used for juicing, are exempt from this prohibition, just as they exempt from schita. So, I mean, this one should be much lenient with schita. Right? Any juice that that oozes from these foods on Shabbos may be consumed. Okay, so they are very clear. Accordingly, it is permitted to consume juice the seeds of the melon while eating. Okay, that's a good thing. Good to know. Summary: juices that seep from olives and grapes may not be consumed until after Shabbos. Okay, juices. So I guess even if it's not olive oil, some olives are in olive oil, they preserve, but some olives are in some marinade. So still it is a liquid that if it's absorbed in the olive itself, but not external to olive. Right, that's the thing. Other fruits are commonly juiced are subject to this prohibition only if they were originally intended for juicing. Right. So if it was intended for juicing, and now while you eating, a few drops fell on your plate, so you're not allowed to drink these 2 drops, basically. But if you bought the orange in general, just orange, right, then it will be allowed. Fruits that are not usually juiced are exempt from this prohibition. Part number 5, practical applications. Okay, practical applications. A, adding lemon to tea. It is forbidden to squeeze lemon directly from the lemon into tea. So as we said, liquid to liquid, forbidden. I mean, squeeze from solid liquid from solid into the liquid is forbidden. It is forbidden to squeeze lemon directly from the lemon into the tea. Nevertheless, there are two practical solutions. Number one, let me turn on air conditioning. Okay, so practical applications. Adding lemon to a tea. Okay, so solution number one. One option is to cut slice of lemon and place it in a tea. However, it is forbidden to press the lemon against the side of the cup while it is fully immersed in the tea. Okay. Even while it's okay, so it's very interesting addition. So you're allowed to cut a piece of lemon and then put it in your tea and drink it like that. Whatever got absorbed into the tea from the lemon, there is no problem, right? There is no problem whatsoever. But what some people do, they squeeze the lemon inside of the cup, like against the side of the cup with a spoon. So it's liquid into the liquid, and of course on Shabbos it's 100% forbidden. Continue. Number two. Alternatively, one may squeeze the lemon onto the spoonful of sugar, provided that the most of the juice is absorbed by the sugar. So in a spoonful of sugar, or as I said, just put the spoon or 2 spoons, whatever you use into the cup, and squeeze it into there. So you can do it. You can do squeezing with 2 hands, and it's going to squeeze properly. The mixture may then be stirred up in the tea. No problem. It should be pointed out that when squeezing fruits, one may not place a wrapper or a net around the fruit to retain the pits. This is forbidden due to borer. So what is borer? Borer we actually learned in a previous chapter. So this is chapter number 9. In the previous chapter, we said sorting. So in this case, this wrapper, this cheesecloth or whatever you use, right? It's like a special instrument, or even it's not special. It's a makeshift, but that's a thing that usually people usually do, right? To hold back all of the pits and pulps from the lemon. So when you're interested in juice, that's absolutely forbidden. So if you want to squeeze it, do it as it is. And then, of course, you would not be allowed to take out the pits from the steam, right? As we discussed in the last chapter. Okay, so that's that. Okay, next one, B, making lemonade. I'm not sure why people need to do it on Shabbos, but let's say, okay, so we just so we know, so we're talking after the fact. So if you want to drink this lemon tea, tea with lemon juice, so just squeeze the lemon before Shabbos and put it in a container. There's no problem. Right, that's it. C, no, I'm sorry. B, making lemonade. As discussed above, it is forbidden to squeeze lemons directly into water. However, one must squeeze the lemon juice into sugar, in which it will mostly be absorbed, and then stir the mixture into water. Okay, so it is permissible way to do the lemonade. But today I think they sell this lemon juice concentrate, or maybe it's not concentrate, like lemon juice in big bottles. So I mean, you buy this and you use it for a long time. Okay. C, squeezing lemon into fish or salad. One is permitted to squeeze lemon directly onto fish, salad, or any other foods to flavor it. Okay, no problem. Fish, salads, okay. So as we said, even salad. So we were discussing fish, but even salad. So of course, it when you squeeze the lemon into salad, it's not going to get absorbed. Okay, so we understand that, but it's going to give flavor. Okay. So what does it mean? So we're not doing it for a liquid, we're doing it for flavor that liquid gives. So intention. D, cutting fruits. It is permitted to slice a fruit, even though during the process one causes the juice to ooze out. Furthermore, one may consume the juice on Shabbos. So, of course, it was not your intention. You were just cutting your orange or whatever you're cutting in normal way. And that's what happens. So, of course, you're allowed to drink this juice. However, when cutting grapes or olives for the fruit or vegetable salad, one should use a sharp knife, interesting, to ensure the liquid is not inevitably squeezed out of the grapes or olives from the pressure of the knife. Very interesting advice, right? So the sharper the knife, the less juice is going to be. Okay, so that's the problem with, I guess, the fruit salad. These grapes usually added into fruit salad. Okay. So continue. Eating a grapefruit. When eating grapefruit, one must refrain from deliberately squeezing the grapefruit into the spoon to draw out the juice. However, any juice that oozes out while eating may be consumed, unless grapefruit was originally purchased for juicing. I mean, today's where we live, it's so expensive, so usually people, I mean, I don't know, maybe rich people buy it for juicing, but usually people buy it for eating. Next one, F, removing excess oil or sauce from food. Okay, removing extra oil or sauce from food. It is permissible to wring the excess oil or sauce from food, for example, herring or kugel, to improve the flavor. So we're not doing for the oil, we're doing for the flavor. Okay, so we finished that melacha. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, let's start next one. I'm not sure if we're going to finish. Maybe yes. Okay, maybe. So the next topic, chapter number 10, page 185, and topic tochen, right? Grinding. Introduction. So one of the 29 avos melachas forbidden on Shabbos is tochen, grinding. There is a breaking down substance into small particles. The melacha applies to non-foods as well as foods. However, our discussion here will focus only to the grinding as related to food. So about non-foods, we will learn in our Laws of Shabbos series. It's on our website. Okay, so part number 2, what is the melacha? What the melacha includes? Grinding. So one more time, the definition of grinding: you have something in large pieces, and now you make it small pieces, right? So we would have to define what is small pieces is. So original melacha, as we understand, it's grinding into powder, right? Okay, so let's see. The prohibition. Although the term tochen is literally defined as grinding, the melacha is not limited to grinding foods into a powder, right? So in the base of English, we were doing the herbs, like for herbs to make what is it, dyes, to dye the fabric. But it includes any activities that reduces the large item into very small pieces. Okay, large item reduces large item into very small pieces. Thus, shredding, grating, and chopping are all forbidden under the melacha of grinding. Okay, so one more time: shredding, grating, and chopping are all forbidden under the melacha of grinding. Right? That's a little, yeah, it's very interesting. So that's why we say, if you're not well versed with all of this melachas of Shabbos, if you don't know this book almost by heart, so it's better to prepare everything before Shabbos. Why? Because guaranteed, not maybe, not 99, 100% that you Chal Shabbos, guaranteed. Furthermore, even dicing or otherwise cutting foods into the very small pieces is prohibited under this melacha, very small piece. Okay, so what does it mean? It should be noted that Maran, Gaon, Rav Moshe finds Zatzal rule that cutting long, thin slices is not included in melacha of grinding. Long, thin slices, okay. I'm not sure what food we cut in the long, thin slices. I'm not sure, but okay. The pieces, the precise definition of what's considered very small pieces is unclear. Accordingly, one must refrain from cutting any food. So it's unclear. We go by stringent opinion, right? Food matter, which is the subject to the flow of Tachain. 1 second, second. Cutting any food, any food matter, which is the subject of the law of Tachain, into pieces generally considered as very small, even though these pieces could, in turn, be cut into yet smaller pieces. For instance, when cutting onions or other vegetables for the salad, one may not dice or chop the vegetables into what people would call very small pieces, even they are not the tiniest possible. So here we go in by what people consider very small pieces, right? So if it's very small pieces, even though you can cut 7 times these pieces, doesn't matter, right? So it would be under the prohibition of grinding. Okay, that's one thing. Okay, so and original, as we said, was grinding like to make a powder. That's original. B, mashing, another form of grinding. Mashing is also considered a form of grinding, right? You had potato, now you made mashed potato. So you grind, right, on small pieces. When the mashing results in a large piece being reduced to small, separate pieces, for example, mashed potato, it is definitely forbidden. Or some for children, they mash bananas or other things, right? It would be forbidden. Even where mashing leaves a single soft mass, for example, mashed potato, banana, right? Some poskim rule that is fall under the prohibition of grinding. So in this case, there is no pieces, right? There is no, when you do mashed potato, there is no individual pieces. Still, they say it goes under the prohibition of grinding. It is therefore proper not to mash even something like bananas, except in a manner outlined above in page 182. Okay, so we're going to get to it. Okay. So no mashing, no cutting in small pieces. C, grinding utensils. Under the prohibition of grinding, it is forbidden to use any sort of utensil to reduce the item into small pieces. Right? This includes not only the tools designated specifically for grinding, such a grinder, masher, or grater, but even the utensils commonly used for ordinary food preparation, such as knife or fork. Right? You can do mashed potatoes with forks. Right? Still, it's forbidden. It's not special utensil, but it is forbidden. There is a difference, however, between the two types of utensils. Specialized grinding implements may not be used under any circumstances to cut up any sort of food items, which with ordinary cutting utensil, certain exception applies. This will be outlined in a subsequent section of this chapter. So basically, if it's a knife is not specific utensil to grind things, right? It's to cut. But I mean, it does not say here, but all of this greater grinder, masher, they're all muktzah, right? We're not allowed to touch them themselves. Okay, next one. Summary. Under the prohibition of grinding, any activities that reduce food items to very small pieces is forbidden. So whatever you want to do, this mashed potatoes, do it before Shabbat. That's it. This includes grinding, chopping, grating, shredding, dicing, mashing, and even cutting into very small pieces. So all of this under prohibition of grinding. One must adopt the strict attitude with regard to this definition of very small pieces. Meaning, so go by stricter opinion. Like if a few people would say that very small pieces, don't do it. Right? Very small pieces. Grinding is forbidden with ordinary kitchen utensils, as well with specialized implements. However, with ordinary utensils, some exception apply, as we will see soon. So with a knife, I can cut the smaller pieces, I can cut larger pieces, so it's a little easier. Okay. So part number 3, types of foods are subject to this prohibition. The prohibition against grinding foods applies only to foods that are produce of the earth, such as fruits and vegetables, meats, poultry, fish, eggs, cheese, and other foods that are not produce of the earth are not subject to the prohibition of grinding and may be chopped into very small pieces. So if you need to make the egg salad for whatever reason, so you can chop in very small pieces. Okay, so basically this I'm not sure what like egg cutter, right? The thing to cut the eggs with like strings and stuff like that, right? So it's not moved, so you can use it on Shabbat. Nevertheless, even if the food may be cut only with ordinary utensils, such as knife and fork, the use of specialized grinding utensils is forbidden with all foods. Okay, continue. So all of the specialized utensils. But this egg cutter, it can cut only egg. I don't think it can cut any other things. Okay. So continue. Previously ground food. If food was once ground finely and then was reconstituted into the solid, one is permitted to grind it up again. This rule is known as there is no prohibition against grinding something that was previously ground. That's very interesting. So let's try to understand. So they say if it was ground before, so you can grind again. So the simple example would be like bread, right? So, or cookies. So if somebody crumbled the cookie, there is no problem technically. Of course, if it's a waste of food, don't do it. But practically, he did not or she did not transgress this melacha. However, regrinding is permitted only with ordinary utensils. Specialized grinding tools may not be used. For example, one may crumble a cookie since it is made of flour, which was already ground from the powder form. Okay, so however, one may not use grater to reduce it to crumbs, but with a hand you can. There is a problem. It should be noted that the rule of ein tochein achar tochein applies only to foods that was very finely ground and then reconstituted. It is forbidden to cut very small pieces of vegetables into yet smaller pieces, since it is not clear at what point the very small pieces become classified as ground. So they say, okay, if they were tiny, these pieces were tiny, like a flour, and then you reconstituted, you made the bread, and then you crumble the bread. Okay, make all of the breadcrumbs. There is one thing, right? But when they chop the onions, and now they want, and they in their mind it's small pieces. Now they want chop into even smaller pieces. That's the issue. That's it is possible that the initial small pieces were not considered ground, and smaller pieces made by the second grinding is indeed in the category ground. So since, as we said, we do not know, so maybe this is grounded. Okay. Right. The original pieces, so it could be an issue. So continue. Summary. The melacha of grinding applies only to foods and the produce of the earth. So that's very important point. Right? Foods that do not come from the earth are exempt from the prohibition. So as we said, meat, fish, poultry, and others. Eggs. Finally ground foods that were reconstituted may be ground once again. However, chopped fruit and vegetables may not be reduced to smaller pieces. In all cases, use of specialized grinding implements is forbidden. Okay, that's the summary. Okay, so part number 4. Circumstances in which grinding is permitted. There are circumstances in which one is permitted to chop a fruit or vegetable into very small pieces. Right? So let's see. A. Grinding in a highly irregular manner. One may chop fruit or vegetables into fine, tiny pieces by using the handle of the knife or fork. Right? Handle. I would say if it's not grinding, it's already, I don't know, what is it, mashing. Okay. This is permitted because cutting with the handle is a highly irregular manner of grinding. So we call it shinoi. Okay. Please note that this stands into contrast to general rule that melachas are prohibited midrabanan, even when performed in a regular manner. The sages made this exception in the case of grinding by allowing the use of the handle of the utensils, since they viewed it as a highly irregular manner of doing the act. Okay, so we have to, we just introduce another rule. So in most of the case, if something was forbidden, even the Rabbanan, right? So you're not allowed to do it the regular way, and you're not allowed to do it irregular way, right? Not usual way. Of course, there are some exception if somebody is sick, this and that. So, and not critically sick, so you would be allowed to do something, right? In irregular manner. But usually that's the only, as this Rabbi said, it's the only exception, right? It's the only exception. With grinding with the back with the handle of the knife, nobody's grinding it. It's very, very unusual. I don't think people would do it, but in case of the meat, I guess they would. B. Grinding for immediate use. Many poskim rule that the prohibition against grinding does not apply if the food is being prepared for immediate consumption. According to the few, one may cut fruits or vegetables into very small pieces using the ordinary utensil immediately before the meal. For the definition immediate before the meal, see the chapter 8 for sorting. As we said, whatever time you need to prepare for the meal, even 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever, so it's immediately before the meal. Okay. Other poskim disagree and forbid cutting foods into very small pieces, even immediately before the meal, but state that one should cut pieces slightly larger than usual, and still do it for immediate use. Okay. So okay. So let's finish and then we explain. It is proper to abide by this stricter opinion. However, in case of necessity, the lenient view may be followed. Okay, so let's read the example then explain. For example, it is permissible to cut vegetables into very small pieces for immediate use for immediate use of a baby, right? Or other foods that are not available. If other foods not available, so that's so they give exception. That's baby is going to only eat this food and no other food. So okay, so they say do it. However, one may not use specialized grinding utensils in this case. So basically, they say go by the final by the stricter opinion, which is don't grind even for immediate use in case of the need, as I say, for a baby, elderly person, you're allowed to do that. Continue. Exclusion, mashing. There is a view that exemption of the grinding for immediate use does not extend to the mashing, also for grinding. Okay, even in case of necessity. Therefore, food must be mashed for a baby. If food must be mashed, it is preferable to do it so only with a handle of utensil. So for others, no, but in case of the baby, there is nothing else to eat, so do it with a handle of utensil. And with a handle for knife or fork or spoon. Continue. Summary. It is permissible to chop fruits and vegetables with the handle of the utensil, which nobody do that, right? Or maybe bananas you can do that, I think. In the case of necessity, for example, for a baby, one may even cut them into very small pieces with an ordinary utensil for immediate use. Mashing, however, should be preferably done only with a handle of utensil. Mashing handle of utensil. Okay. Part number 5, practical applications. A. Specialized grinding implements. Okay. The following is a partial list of specialized grinding implements which may never be used on Shabbos. Okay. Number 1, grinder, a nut grinder or spice grinder. Okay, grinder, regular grinder. Number 2, garlic press. Okay. Number 3, grater. Number 4, potato masher. Number 5, mortar and pestle. They usually use it for spices. Okay, but still, spices, it's a perfect example. Number 6, cleaver. Number 7, alligator. What is alligator? The vegetable chopper, known as a nice dicer. I have no idea what is it. Mandolin vegetable slicer, mandolin, which with no other attachment, which is used to slice cucumbers or other vegetables and not dice them, is not considered grinding implement. So I have no idea what it is, but it looks like if it's slicer, so maybe it has a grinder attachment, that would be prohibited, but as a slicer, it could be used. Okay, continue. So it was A. B, meats, poultry, cheese, eggs, and other non-produce. All the foods that do not grow from the earth are exempt from the prohibition of grinding and may be chopped or mashed into tiny pieces. Nevertheless, specialized grinding implements may not be used. Okay, specialized grinding may not be used. Egg slicer and cheese slicer is not considered grinding implements. Oh, this you see, as we said, so it's not grinding, it's like cutter. I mean, you cut in pieces. These items can be used to slice vegetables as well. Very interesting. Vegetables is, I'm not sure, like eggs, like boiled egg is very soft. I'm not sure what if these utensil are so strong and can cut some other vegetables. Okay, maybe, I don't know. Continue. Baked, let's see, baked products. Bread, challahs, cake, cookies, and all similar products made from a flour may be crumbled into tiny pieces. However, one may not use the special implements. Why they want to come? Maybe put like put in a soup, right? Chicken soup, I guess. D, fruits and vegetables. Foods that grow from the earth may not be chopped, mashed, grated, or otherwise cut into very small pieces. Even if already chopped, they may not be reduced into smaller pieces. So because, as we said, we don't know the exact definition of small, so don't cut it smaller. However, one may cut, chop, or mash them with the handle of the utensil. As we said, very unusual way of doing things. Thus, one may mash bananas, avocados, or cooked potatoes using the handle of the utensils. Okay. Banana avocado. So that's one may mash. Banana avocado for using the handle of the utensil. Okay. Though it is preferable to use the handle of utensils in case of necessity, for example, baby or elderly person, where it's not feasible to cut, chop, or mash with the handle of the utensil, one may be lenient and do so with ordinary fashion for immediate use. Maybe meaning for baby or elderly person or a sick person, I guess. When cutting onions or other vegetables into small pieces for a salad, one should do so immediately prior the meal in which they will be eaten, and cut the vegetable into larger pieces than one usually cuts them. So whatever you usually cut, do it larger pieces, because salad, fresh salad, it's not a good idea to prepare like the day before, Friday. Okay. Cereals. Cereals, for example, cornflakes, should not be crumbled into small pieces unless it is known that the ingredients were initially reduced to the powder form. What does it mean? We're going to talk about them, I think, in our Thursday class. I'm not sure when, but we're going to get to it. So the cornflakes, you have to see the ingredients, how they made, right? Some of them, it's not corn. It's some corn flour with a wheat flour. But some of them, they literally corn, right? They just rolled corn, and that's how it made. So in this case, it would not be allowed. But if it's made of a flour, so you would be able to crumble them. F, cholent and other cooked foods. Potato and cholent and other foods that have been extremely cooked, like overcooked, I guess, to the point that their content is extremely soft, may be chopped up or mashed small. I mean, because they're soft anyway. Like, okay, so we can stop here. Finish two melachas, Baruch Hashem. So the next one is kneading. I think that's a big one. To knead the dough. Okay, any questions? So if not, so until tomorrow. Tomorrow is Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Thank you very much and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't do it. There's going to be some graphic details. Not MIDRASHIM, not Gemarot. We did that already. Where is GEHINNOM in HALACHA? What did the Chassidim actually say about punishment? Is there suffering? Is there a physical place of fire or snow? We're simply trying to verify that Hashem takes vengeance against the sinners or not.
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
We're doing a Ouija board video today.
This is by far the largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
What happens the moment you die? Person needs to know that he's not going to be here forever.
Yeah, I went to a place of timelessness.
It was me judging myself on what I could have done better.
Not the rebuke of some book. This is a rebuke of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we go up to Shamayim.